there are so many people I work with who are way too nice. And they're compassionate and they're kind and they're forgiving. And they get screwed time and time and time again. They think every human being on the planet deserves to be loved. So I'm going to let someone
walk all over me. Yeah.
Walk all over me. Or not even walk all over me. It's I will let someone take advantage of me once and I will forgive them. And I will let them take advantage of me again. And I will forgive them.
I feel like I did that for most of my life.
A lot of people do.
I feel like we were talking beforehand off camera about, how you went through a midlife crisis in the last few years. I don't know if you publicly shared that, but I feel like my midlife crisis was a couple of years ago as well. And it was shedding 95% of relationships in my life that I had that I felt like that I needed to create boundaries in those relationships.
But Lewis, when you shed those relationships, don't you become a mean person?
That's what I believed.
Shouldn't you be a caring person who maintains you want to be someone who maintains relationships, right? Yeah. That's a good thing to be.
That's what I believed. And then it drained the life out of me.
Absolutely.
Constantly giving and constantly giving. And
because this is the positive identity. Yes. Oh, I want to be compassionate. I want to be great, right? We feel so guilty when we step away from our positive identity.
Yeah.
And then that guilt, because I don't like the feeling of guilt. So you know what? I'm going to let this person take advantage of me again. So the goal, how do you tell? Positive identity will shape your perceptions as well. All identity will shape your perceptions. So what we want to do is to see the world as it is, free of all perception. And the only way you can do that is to get rid of identity. Your identity, your ahamkar, this gets a bit tricky, but if I ask you, Lewis, who are you? What would you say?
Well, my first thought is I'm a loving, passionate, wise man.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, great. Right? So
I'm a loving, passionate, wise man.
So we identify with all kinds of qualities. So I could say I'm a man, I'm a doctor, I'm a husband, I'm a father. And that's all part of my ego. Yes. So I don't know if this makes sense.
I can make the identity, I'm a New York Times bestselling author, I'm a podcast. Yeah, I could identify with accolades.
You could identify with accolades. You could identify with vices.
Yes.
But here's the crazy thing. You were you before any of those things were true.
Yes.
You will be you after all of those things are gone.
Yes.
Right? So one of the most interesting questions that's, I struggled with is, when did I become a doctor? Is it the second I get my MD degree? So for me, it was being on call. And there was one particular instance where there was my pager went off, and it was something called a rapid response. So a nurse was like, it's like not quite an emergency. So I go into this room.
Semi-emergency.
About to be, if we don't do something right away, it's going to be an emergency. Okay. So I go into a room, and there's a patient who's having a seizure. And so the nurse is there, and I walk in, and literally like 15 seconds later, my senior resident walks in. His name is Ken. He's an awesome guy. So Ken walks to the other side of the patient, and he's like sitting there with his arms crossed. And so I start reporting to him because I'm an intern. I've been an intern for 2 weeks, finished medical school like a couple weeks ago. And so I said, Ken, is a 38-year-old woman who's started having a seizure, seems like about 90 seconds ago. And then he looks at me, he's like, And I said, Ken, the patient's having a seizure. And he said, Ken, what should we do? It's like, what do you want to do? I don't know. IV lorazepam, like 1 milligram or 2 milligram. And he's like, which one do you want to do? 1 milligram or 2 milligrams? I'm like, 2 milligrams? It looks like it's a big seizure. And he's like, sounds good. And so what's really scary is a seizure isn't dangerous for like 60 seconds. And Ken knows that everything is fine. But that's where, like, when you're panicking, you want him to take over. It's like, I've been doing this for 2 weeks, but I actually have the information. I know the thing.
But you didn't have the autonomy yet. You didn't take over.
I didn't take the autonomy, right? But I had the ability.
Yes.
And so that's why Ken was awesome. Is awesome, I'm sure.
Sure. He's being a good leader.
Being a good leader by not taking the responsibility from me. And so, that was the moment I became a doctor. But I knew everything before then. If after I retire, will I still be a doctor? It's a piece of my identity.
Yes.
But I've always been me even before that. So accolades are not bad. Parts of our identity are not bad per se. They're a necessary part of living in the world. But we should step away from them as much as possible. At the end of the day, in this moment, I'm not a doctor. I'm just me. And what I really try to help people do is move from negative identity to positive identity. That's a step in the right direction.
Yes.
But then we want to shed all of that and recognize that we're just humans. And you are a wise, passionate man. You weren't that before in a weird way, but that's okay, right? Because you had to go through the negative versions of yourself to be the current version of yourself. And if you try to hold on to being a wise, passionate man, you will be in trouble. That too is a stage.
So let that go too.
Let that go when you're ready.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Well, that was more for the giving an answer, so you're like, who are you? I was like, okay, I'm a passionate wise
and this
man.
is where, I spent 7 years studying to become a monk, and the answer of who I am is nothing. I'm nothing. I'm empty. I'm just an organism. I'm just a random set of neurons, tissue, thoughts, emotions moving through the world.
And a soul.
So that's our purest form.
Yes.
Right? So identity is of the mind. It's a part of psychology. But, and as we practice these, as we achieve states of meditation, you will feel emptiness.
Yes.
And emptiness is a beautiful thing because all of your problems disappear. And then when you don't have an identity, see, if you believe that you are a wise man, and then you get some bit of information that is contrary to that.
You're like, oh, maybe I'm not.
And so then you're struggling, right? Because am I a wise man or am I not a wise man? Here's the crazy thing. You are a wise man and you are also not a wise man.
And I'll make mistakes. And
you will make mistakes, right? And you will make mistakes that will lead to your wisdom. And you will make mistakes that'll make you an idiot.
Yes.
I'm brilliant and I'm an idiot. To hold multiple identities.
I know a lot and I know nothing.
Absolutely, right? So that's how we transcend. There's this word that gets thrown around a lot. So I think the ultimate goal is to transcend identity, to move away from all of those things, that all of those things are a part of you, but they're not you, right? It's a part of you, but it's not ultimately who you are. And when you step away from that, that's when you stop thinking of yourself as wise, then you will be able to recognize your mistakes and you will be able to recognize your wisdom.
Yes.
Wisdom is a piece of you. It is not you. And so ultimately, we're going to step away from all of that stuff.
Yes.
In my opinion, if you want to be happy.
How do you think about identity for yourself? Living in a material, physical world where you have to, organize things and strategize the future and bring people together and plan and pay bills and bring in money and present yourself and have credentials and study. Like, how do you think about identity personally for yourself?
So this is such a weird thing. But what I want you to understand is that identity is a vritti. Vritti is a fluctuation within the mind. Identity is not an object. It is an activity.
Yes.
Okay. So I know
ongoing.
And goes away.
Yeah. Okay.
So I want you to literally think about this precisely. Okay. When you're taking a dump, are you a wise, passionate man?
I still am. But I'm in that moment taking a dump.
How would I know that you were a wise, passionate man if I were to it
would be more of a self-reflection of a knowing, but someone else want to know.
So in that moment, you're not a wise, you're just a dude taking a dump.
Yeah.
Right? So this is what I mean. So your identity literally activates and deactivates. That's what people need to understand. Okay. It is an energetic pattern. So we know this because we have this thing in psychiatry, we talk about the narcissistic defense.
What is that?
That is when we pump ourselves up when we feel threatened. So if I say, you're stupid, you say, no, I'm not. Here are all the reasons how I can prove to you that I'm not stupid. So that's narcissism. If you criticize a narcissist, they will put you down, they'll attack you back, they'll pump themselves up. So identity, literally, if you look at as you go through the day, right? And maybe I'll use another example. So, I don't know if this is public or not, but I think you've just had a couple kids.
Yeah, it's public.
Right. So, when you're holding one or both of your daughters, you are just a dad.
I'm just present.
You're just present, right? You're not even a dad. It's weird. We think a dad is everything that you do for your kids. When you're holding them in that moment and they're asleep in your arms or you're watching them sleep, you're not even a dad. You are just an organism that is in bliss.
Observing,
right? You're just in that moment. And when you're doing that, someone else will see a dad in you, but in your mind, there's no identity of dad.
Yeah.
Right? There's identity of dad when they take their first steps. There's identity of dad when you watch them graduate. There's maybe identity of dad if they get married one day. That's when there's identity of dad. But in the moments that you're with them, there's no identity. So identity is something that turns on and turns off.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, and this is what becomes important because we require identities to function in the world. Right? I have to have an identity as a doctor in order to be a doctor. I can't let that go.
So it is important for you to step into identity.
Perfect.
At different times.
And then step out of it, right?
Okay.
When someone comes at you, you need your ego. I'm not a POS. I deserve respect. What you are doing is not okay. Mm-hmm. I deserve better. But this is the key thing, and this I think gets misunderstood a lot because in these contemplative traditions, we talk about being egoless. The goal isn't to be egoless. The goal is for you to be in control of your ego, not have your ego be in control of you.
Yeah.
So I think about my ego and my identity as a guard dog. And if I tell it to attack, it attacks. There are times where it gets antsy on its own. A stranger comes in and my ego activates, but I need to take a step back. I need to tell the dog to calm down. This is not when a patient says, hey, Dr. K, I've been coming here for 6 months and I don't even know if I'm getting better.
Right.
And then I say, I am a Harvard-trained psychiatrist. If you are not, I have thousands of patients that are getting better. You are not getting better.
You're the problem. Yeah.
You're the problem.
Yeah.
You are not doing the treatments properly. That's why. It's not my fault. And then that naturally arises. The narcissistic defense naturally arises. And there may be times where I have to defend myself. And there may be times where I need to receive that criticism perceive that in the right way.
Uh-huh. Is there a part of your identity or ego that still gets the best of you?
Every day. All the time. I think for me, it's being a loser.
That's what you believe or think?
Yeah, I am a loser. Literally, I lose every day. I make so many mistakes.
Uh-huh.
I failed so many classes. I had to apply to medical school 120 times to get in. It took me 3 years to get into med school.
Wow.
Even today, I'll make a YouTube video that sometimes has a million views in 10 days, sometimes has 100,000 views in 10 days. I am a loser. So here's the other thing. There are parts of the negative parts of our identity are only a problem if we make them a problem. And I can accept, of course I'm a loser. That doesn't mean I'm not also a winner. I have both of these things within me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a good husband. Really important. And I'm a bad husband. The moment that I start believing that I am exclusively a good husband is the moment that my wife gets screwed.
Really?
Absolutely. I need to accept that at times I'm a bad husband. At times I'm a good husband. No one on this planet is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of data that shows that the more cognitively flexible you are around your identity, the better off you will be. And I don't know if this kind of makes sense. I know it sounds weird, and I know it runs kind of contrary to some of the stuff that you may say, but I think you do this, right? I think you must, in order to achieve what you've achieved. You must consider your weak parts. You 100%. Must acknowledge
100%. Yeah.
Right? That if I do not act in the right way, my baser nature will take control.
Yeah, of course.
There is an addict, a degenerate gamer who lives inside of me. And if I'm not careful, that will come out again.
Right. There's an importance of stepping into an identity that is more empowering than disempowering, I believe.
Yes.
As opposed to, I'm a loser, there's no chance I'm going to win this game. I'm going to mess up. If I'm having a disempowering identity or belief, it's probably not going to serve me.
Absolutely. So here's if you think you're a winner, it starts to become other people's fault. Then you're right that there's a tension, because now if you think of yourself as a winner and you get data that you're not winning,
yes,
now your identity is threatened.
This is what happened to me also, because first I was a loser, and then I was picked last, on teams. I was made fun of. I was in special needs classes. So all these things, I didn't have the psychological or emotional tools as an 8-year-old on how to navigate the emotions of the world and fit into groups and societies and teams. So I just associated, oh, I'm picked last. I'm in special needs. I'm in the bottom of my class. I am a loser. Those I am statements I believed. Then I said, let me work so hard to improve this so that I'm never picked last and so that I'm a winner. And I did that for years. And it worked. I started getting picked first. I started being, the best on the team, whatever it is, through middle school and high school. But then everything became about winning. It was like, if I don't win, then my identity is going to crumble, right? It was like, then now I'm a loser. And so my whole life became threatened with the idea of, if I'm not a winner, then I'm a loser. That way I have to win at everything. And winning, I associated winning with being right. So if I was wrong, I'm a loser. If I lose, I'm a loser. And so I tried to defend this identity, like you said, by being right and winning in everything, sports, business, relationships, until I hit about 29 or 30 years old. And I realized life was not about winning and losing. It was about win-win. How do I create a win-win scenario, even if I'm losing in a situation? And that became a part of my process, was seeing everything as from a lens of, how do I create win-win? What does that look like? This experience, instead of, I need to be right, I need to win at all costs.
So I think it's beautiful, because people are probably asking, how do I get from loser to winner to beyond? And I would even argue that you are doing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So and people can even rewind this and pay attention to the subject of your sentences.
Yes.
How do I create win-win? The object is outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
I am a winner. I am a loser.
Mm-hmm.
So when we transcend identity, we don't focus on the ego. We focus on the action.
Mm-hmm.
We actually divorce our identity. We become independent of the action.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lesson that I learned the hard way in residency, because, you get trained to, like, you think as a doctor, like, I save lives, right? Like, that's what we do. Save lives. And then you learn the hard way, like, you can't save a life.
Yeah. And people die.
On
your table.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
How does that feel? Not to get off. How does that feel when you're told your whole life, I'm going to go and save lives, and then you see someone, whether it be in residency or you watch someone die after an operation, and you're like, oh, we actually didn't save a life, and these are really good doctors around me. How did that feel the first time?
Numb.
Yeah.
So people think it feels bad, but my experience was numbness. I remember, this is a bit graphic. And so I remember I was doing chest compressions on a guy who was having his third code in the hospital. And
what's code mean? What is that?
So he was having an arrhythmia. So his heart was not beating. Yeah. So his heart was not beating the way it's supposed to. His heart was fluttering. And so it wasn't able to beat. So he was a rather large dude. And I remember doing chest compressions. And what they don't show you in the shows is that sometimes when you start doing chest compressions, people will vomit.
Yeah.
And so I remember I had gloves on, and all I could really remember was the feeling of the vomit hitting my elbows and then going down the arm and into the gloves. And it's
in your gloves,
in your gloves, right? And it's nasty, because we don't like things in gloves to begin with. If you've ever done the dishes,
the whole reason there's gloves is those stuff on your hands,
and then that it's vomit and there's someone dying underneath you, and so then it's I remember
pressure, the stress, and
the pressure, because I was pushing and he's vomiting on me, and I'm getting this stuff in my gloves, and there's a part of my mind that's maybe I should push less. That way he'll stop vomiting on me. But no. We're not going to push.
We're trying to save the life.
We're trying to save a life. And so my experience from that was just afterward, I was just numb. I was just what the hell was that?
Did he resuscitate? He didn't make it.
Didn't make it. there was no way he was going to make it.
Yeah.
He was gone days before.
Yeah.
And so you just learn real quick, and for me, it happened pretty quickly, because I'd had this training, right? On yoga and meditation and understanding some of these things. But that and there was another patient that came in with a couple of gunshot wounds when I was working a shift in the emergency room. And you learn very quickly that you don't have the power of life over death. You just don't have that. It's not something that you're entitled to.
You can't save a life. You could do your best to support life in staying.
All you can do is act.
Wow.
So there's a great principle from sort of like Eastern meditative traditions. As a human being, all you're entitled to is your actions, not the fruits of your actions.
Mm.
And this is a beautiful way to get rid of ego.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole, what's the quote around like planting seeds under trees of shade that you will not sit in the future. It's like, I don't know what that, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So it's, the world is a good place when you plant a seed
under whose shade
you'll never sit in. Yeah. Something like that, right?
It's like putting in this work that you won't get the benefit from.
Yeah.
But others will. And the beautiful thing is you have been benefiting from everyone else in history for your life now.
Yeah. So I think it's more drastic than that, even, right? So this is not doing work for shade that will come. You're entitled to plant a seed, but even then you don't know that the shade will be there.
That's true.
So as a human being, as a doctor, you don't like, you can do everything, right? So I work now with people who are like suicidal, and like you can do everything that you can do, but you can never stop a human being from taking their own life.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this and you want more inspirational content, make sure to click the subscribe button below and click right here to watch what's coming next.